I'm going to talk about some secrets to a triumphant marriage. So in 1995, my brother and sister-in-law gave my wife this book. And I studied it with her, but I wasn't really into it as much as she was back then. But I was going to my library, and I picked this book up this morning. I started reading it. There's some good stuff here. I wish I knew back then what I know now. Life would have been a lot easier as a married couple. We'll be married 48 years in January, so we've been through thick and thin. So the author is Neil Clark Warren. He went and interviewed 100 couples that people recommended that had a successful marriage. And he has chapters, and several chapters. Secret number 1, secret number 2. But within each chapter, there's a bunch of other secrets. So tonight I can't go through the whole book. I was going to do 10, but I ended up with 11 points I want to cover tonight. So hopefully we'll get through that. So number 1, to have a real successful, triumphant marriage, express your gratitude to each other until it becomes habitual. So every day, every morning, my wife appreciates compliments, Thank your spouse daily for the small things you appreciate, such as, someone, if I don't do the dishes and she takes out the trash or vice versa, appreciate that. Appreciation goes a long ways. Philippians 4, 8 through 9. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honorable, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Any praise, think on it. That's the things which ye both learned and received and heard and saw in me, these things do. It's kind of like the theme of our Bible camp. Just do it, So people need praise, and especially your spouse. These things do, and the God of peace shall be with you. And Ecclesiastes 10:12. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. So, let's be careful how we talk to our spouse. And think about that every day when you see your spouse. Number 2, work at being a great friend. That was the theme of our ladies' appreciation dinner, right? Our best friend. And it was in this book. I was kind of, so I got to put that on the list. So another key to a great marriage is friendship. When your spouse has become your best friend, sleeping, eating, working, vacationing, and playing with someone who provides emotional, physical, and spiritual support will make your life great. I think most of us been through life realize that. When you're young, sometimes you think more about yourself and less about your wife. I used to do a lot of things, go play softball, go fishing, go play golf, and leave the wife home. That was not good, but she straightened me out later on. She said, you can't go play golf all day, leave me home with these kids. So I took up fishing, took the kids fishing, but she was happy with that. At least she got a break. So we worked it out that way. Proverbs 18:24. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Now that friend in the Hebrew is translated lover, so your spouse. So your spouse, that's a great line, right? Who sticks closer than a brother? You're going to put your spouse first, basically, over your blood brother. And that's how it should be. Okay, number 3 on my list. Making your spouse feel loved will significantly strengthen your marriage. That's kind of a no-brainer, but you got to do it. That's the hard part. Another key to great marriage is verbalizing and showing your spouse every day how much you love her or him and how glad you are to get to spend your life with them. Number 4, learn how to apologize and how to forgive.
Twice.
That was hard, especially when you're first married. I mean, that was really hard. But you learn and you grow into it. But I'm sorry, that is hard. So it isn't always easy to say you're sorry. But if you can admit mistakes and apologize to your spouse, you won't give problems a chance to fester and swell into bigger problems. So number 5, look for all the positive qualities in your mate. Sometimes we tend to always look for the worst, You didn't do this right, or you didn't, but that's not the right way to approach it. And I did learn that lesson. You always got to look, I learned that a long time ago. But when you're first married, I was a perfect husband, I was a perfect father, I could train them kids up. Boy, was I naive. None of that really worked out. So it's always easy. Okay, so number 5. Okay, look for positive qualities in your mate. Feel fortunate and blessed by what you learn from your spouse. Be wise, sensitive, and care deeply for your spouse, and love both what is good and right. So it's kind of, I guess I should get to it later, but if you're all on the same mission and have the same vision, that makes that job a lot easier, You have to agree on how you're going to discipline the kids. You have to agree on how you're going to handle friendships, and it becomes a team. All right. Number 6. There it is. I'm talking about number 6 before I got there. Create a working partnership with each other. Spouses should work incredibly well together. Whether our task has to do with children, our church activities, or our future, marriage should be a real partnership. Number 7, look for the changes in your marriage. They speak eloquently about the quality of your relationship. I can't wait to see what God does for us in the coming years. It is exciting to see what love, commitment, trust, forgiveness, hope, and faith can do in a marriage. And Hebrews 13:4, let marriage be had in honor among all. So the world, they want a good marriage. But this book was written in 95, and I think the divorce rate was 66% at the time. And even those people that divorced would remarry, still looking for that, the bliss, the happiness that marriage can provide. So it's God institution. God set up the institute of marriage. And it can be blissful, but it can be tough. And you got to stick it out through the tough times. So number 8, maintain careful control over your expectations. Expect to go through life's ups and downs with your spouse. Expect your love for each other will grow more and more deeply through it all. Trust in God, you will have enough strength to endure through all of life's ups and downs. Most people in the world, they're down, they're gone, they divorce. But if you're a Christian and you follow the Bible principles, you're going to stick to it through thick and thin. The Psalm 62:5-8. My soul, wait thou in silence for God only, for my expectation is from Him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my high tower. I shall not be moved. With God is my salvation and my glory, the rock of my strength and my refuge in God. Trust in Him at all times, ye people. Pour out your heart unto Him. God is a refuge for us, for couples. So if you're on the same page and you're connected at the hip, you should all be on the same mission, the same vision. Recognize and celebrate that have expectations that have been met. Realize your expectations for your marriage have been met, and learn life lessons from meeting your expectation. You might have expectation. I'm going to have 2 kids. Okay, you got your 2 kids. You're going to get a house. So you've been blessed, and you accomplish those things. And there's as couples, you always have these goals. You have goals. And sometimes the goals seem pretty big, but the mind is a little, it's amazing. You think, well, I could never do that. I can never accomplish that. But if you have goals and the mission you start thinking about, you figure out how to make that happen. And as a couple, you can make it happen even faster and better because you're working together as a team. So recognize and celebrate your expectations that have been met. Okay, number 10. Prayer really changes things. You should pray together and often about what God is doing in your lives. Prayer guides us in our goal setting, parenting, conflict resolution, and financial plans. And those are things that, as a couple, you're going to be doing a lot of that for your marriage. And then number 11. I was going to only have 10, but I had to get this 11th one in because it seemed like it was worthy. Renew your commitment. Renew your commitment, especially when the going gets hard. It requires each person to be responsible for the ultimate well-being and happiness of the other. So men, you need to be responsible for your wife's wellness and happiness. Make sure they have everything they need emotionally, spiritually, physically. Same women, you're responsible for your husbands. It's the happiness of the other with no expectation that the marital relationship is to be bargained for exchange of rights, powers, privileges, and immunities. Luke 16, 11 through 12. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property for your own? So trust is a big part of marriage. And there's so many more. We'll run out of time. I wanted to talk about communication, but I'm probably not the best communication expert. I'm not even an expert. I'm just a squirt. Because communication is really important in marriage, and it's a lot of work, and I haven't necessarily accomplished that to where I think I should be. Sometimes I just go out in the shop and ignore the wife. Guess what? Still, I come back in the house. We got to talk about this. Well, okay, whatever. So when I talk about it, I'm talking to myself again. So it was good to get this book and sort of peruse it. I think I'm going to go home and read the whole thing. It's
Go home and read the whole thing. You better go home and read the whole thing.
I know. I forgot a lot of stuff that was in here.
I couldn't read it together.
Yeah, that's the way. She said, "Don't you remember reading that together?" Well, kind of, but I wasn't as interested back in 1995 as I probably am now. The kids are all gone. I'm retired. We're here, there, together all day. So now it's really important that we understand each other. But marriage is great, and as long as you can stick through it. Sometimes you get through stuff and you think, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to get through this. But it's always better. You're stronger. You're going through the fire. All right, so if there's anybody here that needs to respond to the invitation tonight, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.
Number 662.
Oh, to Jesus I surrender.